Welcome to another episode of the Secular Homeschool Revolution. I'm your host, Ashley, and today we're diving into a topic that's becoming more and more crucial in education: the connection between homeschooling and activism. The world of education is evolving fast, and discussions about critical race theory or CRT bills and book bans are making waves across the country. Before we jump into our main topic, let's unravel critical race theory a bit. It's often shortened to CRT. It is started as an academic framework that was meant for college level exploration. So this was only a theory offered on college and university campuses. It digs into how race and racism intersect with other social identities, such as gender and class. Well, lately, it's been a hot topic with some states trying to restrict or ban its teachings in schools. While it is worth noting, it was never a part of the K through 12 education to begin with. It just transformed into this buzzword for a lot of conservatives. So, where I'm at in Texas, we are up against the Senate Bill 3, or also known as the CRT bill. This legislation is just insane, but the main one that really bothers me is that it puts restrictions on discussions about the historical impact of slavery. They're stating, the people who wrote this bill, that it's too controversial and too challenging for students to discuss. There's so many red flags with that ideology, but I really like this quote by Edmund Burke, wisely stating, "Those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it." And by placing limits on these conversations, we might be denying students crucial preparation for the future, and it just feels highly irresponsible, especially for kids of color. I'm not sure how these bill makers can sleep at night. I mean, I guess I do know how they could sleep at night, but it's just heartbreaking that they're playing with these kids' lives. And at the same time, there's just been this uptick in efforts to remove books from school curriculums and libraries. These initiatives have frequently focused on literature that explores diverse perspectives, challenging societal norms, and that includes LGBTQ plus characters. Banning books in K 12 public education not only suppresses diverse perspectives, but also restricts critical thinking, censors history, inhibits free expression, stifles creativity and imagination, and it neglects real world challenges, and ultimately it fosters ignorance. I do want to give a shout out to the local libraries who have been bold in stating their stance on the banned books. I know locally I'm a part of 3 different cities, public libraries, and they've all done a really, really good job of just giving access to the public of information on what the book banning means. And so I'm a huge advocate for libraries, for my kids to be library kids, and for everyone just to utilize the resources, because a library is not a forgotten place. And I also want to give a shout out to my co-op, because we are actually hosting a banned book class by one of the moms. And I didn't mean to say my co-op. I did co-found it with 2 other moms. And a lot of the parents that are involved in our co-op are very aligned with our mission about decolonizing education. We're anti-banned books and censorship. And so they're a very, very progressive group. But I'm excited that my kids get to grow up and experience life with these other kids who have parents that are aligned with my family's values. So another reason someone might lean into homeschooling as a form of activism, especially here in the state of Texas, is Senate Bill 763 that was passed in September of 2023, which allows school officials to hire unlicensed chaplains, either as staff members or volunteers. As long as they can pass a background check, they will be able to perform duties typically provided by school counselors, such as mental health support. And local school boards have until March of 2024 to choose whether they're going to allow chaplain programs in their schools. The idea behind this is it's supposed to help students with their mental health, to heal some of the violence that's been going on in schools. And that is a really, really blurred line between church and state. I think there is some missteps here that we should have been looking at our gun laws or funding or creating new initiatives to support mental health instead of spending, all of this money to get this bill passed. We could have used all of this money to get more people trained, so we're not having one school counselor per 100 kids. Mental health is such a big deal. It needs to be supported in the right way. And I don't know, or at least I couldn't find any information on how well these chaplains will be trained for kids in an elementary, mental, high school level that a school counselor would, right? They're getting certificates that are training them specifically for this population. And then let's address that this having chaplains in schools is not inclusive, right? We're not under one umbrella of religion or religious beliefs. And so if this is a student that has a different belief system than the chaplain working in the school, how safe or how comfortable will this student feel to get this mental support that they need going to this chaplain? I think mental health is not being prioritized in the way that it should, and we could be looking at so many other things that the public school needs instead of unlicensed, possibly untrained people working in our school system. All right, so let's get into the meat and potatoes of things on how you can incorporate activism into your homeschooling journey. Let's first discuss resisting standardized curriculums. So, standardized curriculums are what's being offered in current public schools that are being funded by our tax dollars. And those standardized curriculums lack diversity, and they're very biased, and they don't align with the educational goals I have set for my kids. So by homeschooling, you have the freedom to choose which curriculum vibes with your homeschooling goals. Personally, I love Mint and Bloom. It was created by two Texas teachers who I saw on TikTok that went viral, who were absolutely just offended, shocked, disgusted by the laws Texas was passing, like CRT bills. So they took matters into their own hands and created Mint and Bloom. My family, we're using the power of the people, and the curriculum is just so well done. It's secular, it's diverse, and it's inclusive. And it is created so that you could differentiate between different ages. So I'm using the same form of a history curriculum from Mint and Bloom between my 7 and 11-year-old. And not only does that make it easier on me, but they even provide the resources. So one video is supported for, upper elementary, middle school, and then one's for lower elementary. And they're getting the same information just at appropriate levels. And so I cannot say enough on how much I just love Mint and Bloom. I do believe they're on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. They have a Facebook discussion group, and they do have a couple of free resources on their Teacher Pay Teacher. I don't ever just say I wholeheartedly love a curriculum, but Mint and Bloom is amazing. And even so much that a couple of weeks ago, they had put out new material, and they took and understood and heard the feedback they received. And one of the resources that was provided for one of their new curriculums was not from an authentic voice, and they put out an apology and they fixed it. I respect that wholeheartedly. A second thing you can do to engage in homeschooling as a form of activism is curate an inclusive library. Build a home library that reflects a wide range of voices, perspectives, and topics. So, by exposing your kids to literature from diverse authors and backgrounds, this instills a love for learning and encourages an appreciation from different viewpoints. And this practice will promote inclusivity and challenge any potential biases your kids may be exposed to. A third practice is participate in civic engagement and social justice projects. By integrating civic engagement and social justice projects into your homeschooling curriculum, you are exploring real world issues that could look like participating in community service and encouraging your kids to be informed and active citizens. This not only enhances their understanding of societal challenges, but it also instills a sense of responsibility and activism. One really cool thing happened. One of the moms who taught a social justice advocacy class at our co op, she had the kids research a platform that was very important to them, and they discussed writing letters to senators, making phone calls. And one of her kids actually called the senator while we were at co-op, and they called us back because they were so fascinated by the fact that we were teaching advocacy at our co-op, and they were impressed and left their information to get back to us so that they could come and speak to our kids. And so this is practice, right? I know from my oldest, she's been to at least 5 or 6 protests and to community events to help support protests. And it's just about making her aware and involved and engaged into the society around us and what people need, so that she could one day hopefully be a change maker, or if that's not what she wants to be, just be able to be strong enough to use her voice to at least speak up for herself. The fourth thing you could do is community engagement and support. I believe it's important to actively participate in homeschooling communities that share your values. And if you don't have one, create one. That's the position I was put in 2 years ago. I think engaging with like minded individuals allows you to exchange ideas and resources and just overall build a supportive network. This community involvement contributes to a collective effort to advocate for specific educational philosophies and values. And I firmly believe if you build it, they will come. Ours started off with 3 moms, and then we grew to 5 moms, and now our co-op for educational enrichment classes on Wednesday has now grown to 17 families. Our Facebook group has over 100 families in there, but it took a lot of consistency and just talking about it and posting everywhere. And slowly people will come. It didn't happen overnight, but it definitely, by being very intentional and specific about our message, we have definitely drawn in people who are aligned with all of our values and principles. And it's nice to be able to have dialogue and conversations and share curriculum, and not feel like an outsider, and you feel more supported. My last suggestion would be create and have open dialogue and critical discussions with your kids. Create an environment of open dialogue. Encourage discussions around challenging or controversial topics. Allow your kids to express their thoughts and feelings and to ask questions freely. This helps develop critical thinking skills and a nuanced understanding of complex issues. And I, for one, am very honest with my kids. If I don't have the answer, I try to model looking it up, researching it, using reputable resources. And so we can learn and grow together. And if I happen to know the answer, then I always tell them, don't take my word as law. Challenge me, and if you don't think something sounds right, or you don't understand, or you don't agree with it, let's have these conversations. Let's research it, and so that we are ultimately growing together. But they're learning, most importantly, just to use their voice. Thank you for joining us on this empowering episode of Secular Homeschool Revolution. Today, we explored the dynamic intersection of homeschooling and activism. We discovered how families can use education as a powerful tool for positive change. And as we wrap up, remember that homeschooling is more than an alternative to traditional school. It is helping to actively shape a child's learning journey. And by choosing inclusivity, diversity, and critical thinking, you are not just homeschooling, you are engaging in a form of activism that contributes to a more enlightened and compassionate society. And hopefully, you can join us for our next episode. I am trying to be more consistent when I release episodes. I do need to have a schedule. My main goal was to create a podcast and release them. So I do need to have a more structured schedule. But hopefully you can join me for our next episode. In the meantime, keep questioning, keep learning, keep revolutionizing education. And until next time, stay curious.